Inquisitor Cotiez of the Ordo Malleus spends every waking moment, from studying reports from his countless agents to facing down demons, heretics and aliens in open battle. Hello, and in this video we'll be painting Inquisitor Cotiez and his loyal Glodovian Cyber Eagle to battle ready. Then we'll be adding a few extra details to make our models even more awesome. The paints we'll be using are on the screen now. Pause the video if you need a bit more time. We also have a list of the additional equipment we need, but you can use any brushes that suit you better, and you can change the medium out with water instead. If you're new to painting or want to brush up on your skills, you could check out the Citadel Colour Painting Essentials playlist to learn all about paints and techniques. For Cotiez, I've popped his head on a sub-assembly peg, so we can paint his face a lot easier than if it was glued into the rest of his body. For our undercoats, we'll use Chaos Black for the main body of Cotiez, the Grey Seer for Cotiez's head, and for the Cyber Eagle, we'll be using Mechanicus Standard Grey. So let's get painting. We'll start by painting Cotiez's armour and any inquisitorial icons with Skullcrusher Brass. With there being a lot of this armour, but with some areas that are harder to reach, you can use either a small or medium base brush to help you get those coats of paint down smoothly and neatly in no time. Just make sure that you get around the back of the legs, but don't worry if the cloak is in the way, we'll be painting that soon enough. There are icons on the hammer, and don't worry about the one on the Cyber Eagle just yet. We'll come back to that one later. Let's quickly change our paint water so it's clean for our lighter colours next. Whilst we're waiting for the armour to dry, we'll get the main base coat down on the Cyber Eagle with Baneblade Brown and a medium base brush. Just like our armour, we need to get a smooth finish, so we'll apply 2 to 3 layers at a time, covering all the feathers, talons and beaks. We'll also base coat the parchment too, as this works really well for some rough and well-worn material. Then we'll just add another colour to the feathers and we can get back to Cotiez. For the darker feathers and beaks, we'll use Gorthor Brown and a medium layer brush. We just want to pick out the ends of the larger flight feathers, tail feathers and the main body. We'll also pick out the smaller feathers around the neck and the covert feathers, which are those smaller feathers on the top of the wings. Just use light strokes downward to pick out the ends lightly. Even with 2 lighter coats, we can gently blend both browns together, but don't worry if they aren't perfect. We'll be adding some shading later on to get that blend. If you think some of the feathers are too dark towards the lighter colour, you can always tidy back with Baneblade Brown. Now it's the perfect time to add that Skullcrusher Brass to the icon on the back of the eagle. We'll also use this colour to base coat Cotiez's hair quickly too. Just take your time with these details so we don't make much of a mess. Now we can look at painting the inside of the cloak and the red parts of the Inquisition icons with Mephiston Red. Depending on the size of the detail, you can either use a small base or a small layer brush. We could also use this paint to paint the lenses and the cable on the Cyber Eagle. Just take your time, as we'll be painting in tight areas near the armour we've already painted, but you can always tidy up later. You might not be able to get to all of the parts of the cloak due to where it's attached to the rest of the model, so just do as much as you can. The black undercoat will make sure that it has a super dark shadow instead. Next we can apply Corvus Black to the outside of the cloak, any leather straps, the base of the torso icon, the gun holster and the undersuit of Cotiez's armour. We'll use a combination of both base brushes that we've used so far. Then we can use this colour to paint the talons and the eyes on the Cyber Eagle. Once we have those base coats down, we can move on and keep adding even more colours. With the black done, we can look at painting the white details. And for the inquisitorial icons, the hourglass and the skull icons on the armour, we'll be using Corax White with a small layer brush. Just be careful of the details we've already painted, but you can tidy up now or later on, just before we move on to the shades. But we still have some base coats to apply before those steps. For the fur pelt, hammerhead and the stone and rubble on the base, we'll use Storm Vermin Fur. I've used a medium layer brush for this, but you can pick out what brush you want to use depending on the size of the detail. You may need 3 layers for this colour, as it is quite thin, but it will sit nice and smooth and cover any stray colours from earlier. For the hammer haft and the purity seals, we'll pick out those details with Barrack Nar Burgundy. Just like with all our base coats, just make sure you let each coat fully dry, especially at this stage with so many colours applied. So it shouldn't take too long at all. Now we can quickly base coat Courtiers' face with flayed one flesh and a small layer brush. Seeing his skin is quite pale but full of character, this will be a great starting point to add some more depth later on. But with the base coat down, it just leaves us with one more to go. For the hammer haft detail and pipe, belt buckle, gun and hourglass body, we'll be using Iron Hand steel. We'll also use this to paint the hood and pipe connectors on the Cyber Eagle and any broken archways of the scenic bases. This is also a great time to tidy up any mistakes, as we'll be moving on to some shades next. To shade the armour, any gold details and Courtiers' skin, we'll thin down 1 part Dark Oath flesh with 2 parts Lahmian medium. We'll start by applying it lightly to the armour, making sure that we don't overload any areas, which can lead to excess pooling. If you find there is too much, you can always clean off your brush and soak it away. Once the first coat is dry, we can add a second into the recesses that we want to make much stronger in colour, as this thinned down contrast has some warm red and brown tones that we can build with. Then with the skin, we want to apply 1 light coat, just so it gets into the recesses of the face, adding some shadow and colour. Now we can cover pretty much everything else now with Nuln Oil in 2 ways. The first way is thinning down 1 part Nuln Oil with 1 part Lahmian medium. And we'll use it to shade the Cyber Eagle's feathers lightly, making sure we don't apply too much. We just want to go into the recesses between each feather. Then we can use this for the Iron Hand steel, Storm Vermin fur, Mephiston red, Corvus black and Barak Nar burgundy details. Then we'll thin down 1 part Nuln with 2 parts medium, just for the Corax white details, so we can add some griminess to them. Just keep an eye on all those details as they dry. Don't feel like you have to do all of them at once. You can break them down into pairs of details so you don't overload them with shade. And with that shade dry, Inquisitor Courtiers and his Cyber Eagle are now battle ready. You can stop here, pop his head on, and hunt down the heretics of the Imperium. Or you can keep watching so we can add some extra details so we can take him to the next level. To highlight the metallics, we'll be using Stormhost Silver with a small layer brush. We'll get our brush to a sharp point by rolling it on the palette, bringing all those bristles together. Then we can start picking out the edges and raised areas to highlight. You can use a combination of the tip and the side of the brush, which will help you get all those edges of the armour painted in no time. This will also highlight the broken arches on the bases quickly too. Just try and keep the line as thin as possible, but a little bit of a thicker line is okay, and we can always make it thinner by tidying up with the previous colours. Now with the metals looking sharp, let's make sure that black stands out too with a highlight of Storm Vermin fur. Using this colour, which we base coated the other details with, will really help to tie the whole model together. But it's also a great highlight for black leather as well as cloth. You can even add some lines across the belt to show how worn it is from years of battle and wear. Our next colour is Carrick Stone, and it will be doing a lot of the heavy lifting for these models. First we'll use this and a small dry brush for the Cyber Eagle's feathers and Courtiers' fur pelt, using directional dry brushing, so we can just pick out the raised areas. Just make sure you remove enough paint from the brush but not too much. Then we'll also dry brush the stones on the bases, lightly over the hammer haft, hammerhead and purity seals. So just pick out those edges. Then with a small layer brush, we'll highlight the parchments and Courtiers' hair super quickly. So just add some definition to those details. Then to finish off, we'll highlight Courtiers' skin with Pallid Witch flesh. We'll stick with our small layer brush so we can get all those cheekbones and brow painted quickly. This is why having a head separate sometimes makes these steps really easy. Then, if you're feeling confident, we can finish off with some Corvus black in the eye sockets carefully. Then do a dot of Corax white on either side of where the pupil would be. Now we can glue in his head. And there we are, the indomitable Inquisitor Courtiers and his Glavodan Cyber Eagle, ready to hunt the Xenos and destroy those who are seen as impure. We've based both with Astrogranite to match the stony scenery, and if you'd like to learn more about technical paints, we have videos all about it. For even more tutorials, tips and tricks, check out our videos on the Warhammer YouTube channel, or head to one of our local Warhammer stores where our amazing staff would be happy to help. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video and we'll see you next time. Bye bye!